Welcome, parents, grandparents, and supportive family members. These are truly trying times, and we realize the effort you take each day making education work for your child at home. Schools are built and operated with one thing in mind, and that's meeting their educational needs. Passing this on to parents can be absolutely overwhelming. I hope that the PowerPoint presentation following helps to provide supportive information about how to nurture learning at home. In order to make this as simple as possible, we're trying to break this down into what I call the 5 W's for home-based learning. The 5 W's are where, when, which, what, and who. Where is where to set up for effective learning. When is when should I expect learning to happen. Which is which to include and which to exclude. What is what to expect from my child, and who is who should be involved. Moving forward, we'll identify each one of those and give tips and advice on how to make this work. Part 1 talks about where learning can happen and what an effective way is to set up. Oftentimes when there's other things going on, such as TV, movie screens, activities outdoors, children can become distracted and learning can become minimalized. Things to keep in mind when considering where to set your child up for academic work is first of all to ensure that they have all the access that they need to instructional materials. This will include their computer, it would include pens, paper, would include perhaps a calculator if they're working on math, it would include their Chromebook. Number 2 is a designated work spot every day. When a child arrives into school, they go to their own seat where they have their own material, and the same should be true at home. Therefore, maybe the corner of a dining room table, maybe a back room somewhere, someplace where it's always the homework happens. It's in a quiet area of the house, but also that there's parent proximity. The parent is always capable of looking over their shoulder, ensuring that they're doing their work, providing them lots of reinforcement, and that it's clear of other distractions. If your child has a phone or other materials, it may be really important to put it aside on the counter to ensure that the TV is off and no other distractions are in place. The second W to focus on is when. When should I ensure that my child is doing their homework, and when should I allow them to go out and have some fun? When we talk about when you should be providing education instruction to your kids at home, think about how a typical school day lays out, and that they're almost always in at the same time every day and let go at the end of every day at the same time as well. They start each day, let's say at 9 o'clock, and then at 9:30 they're doing reading, and then at 10 o'clock they're doing math, etc. So it follows a nice sequence. If you could do the same, that would be very helpful. You talk about work expectations, usually 20 to 30 minutes per subject is more than enough. Anything beyond that, usually kids get a little bit antsy and distracted. Also embed 2 to 3 minute stretch breaks. If they say to you, I think I want to just go stretch or go get a drink of water or go stretch out in the front porch, that's absolutely fine to do. Also, try to avoid having all the focused work come in sequence. So in other words, start with grammar. And when you're done with grammar, have them do a little bit of artwork for 10 or 15 minutes. And then have them do the difficult math, and then have them catch lunch. And after they're done with lunch, perhaps some silent sustained reading. And that's that independent task that I talk about at the bottom of this sheet. Visual supports are very helpful, and believe it or not, we actually use them in school as well. Here's an example. The one on the left-hand side, you're going to see it says schedule, and it lays out what the expectations are throughout the course of the day. Students can take a look at any point and just say, what's coming up next? Oh, lunch. If I finish silent sustained reading, then lunchtime comes and I can get through this. Fantastic. The one on the right is perhaps for a little bit more independence, in which the child can say, I think at 10 o'clock I want to work on one thing, at 11 o'clock another, and at 12:30 something different, and they get to type in or write in what that preference is. The nice part about the one on the right is that they can cross out once they finish with any of the tasks or activities that they have, and then take a look and to see what time they're going to be done with all of their work. Part 3 addresses the question of which, and that is which to include and which to exclude when providing instruction and support to your child at home. This can be very confusing because we have so many devices and so many online educational support systems that we ask the question, what do we include, which do we include, and which do we exclude? Some really concrete things to consider to include is, first of all, a visual support, like we showed on the prior page. Number 2 is needed materials, anything that they might need, ranging from pen, paper, computer, or calculator, to ensure that it's right within arm's reach. Number 3 is a comfortable seat. You can get that really hard, uncomfortable seat where they'll get really twitchy in about 5 or 10 minutes. You can get that comfortable seat for them to sit in. I think number 2, the comfortable seat, is best practice. A quiet area. No barking dogs, no TV in the background, no radio. A nice quiet area where they can sit down, do their work, and focus in on some difficult tasks. Next is a reminder of choice time. Always let them know that after you're done with this hard work, there's something high preference that's coming up your way. So keep working really hard, and don't forget you get to ride your bike, or don't forget you get to play on the computer. Sometimes those reminders are simple verbal. Sometimes pictures of them are helpful as well. Also, as parents, praise ongoing work. It's not about the fact that they do everything correctly and get 100%. It's more about the fact that they're consistent and persistent. Finally, breaks every 30 to 40 minutes. On the other side of that is what to exclude. Don't keep the TV on or radio within earshot. Number 2, digital devices should be out of mind and out of sight. Exclude hunger or thirst. Ensure that they've had a good breakfast, something to drink before they get started. Exclude big and prolonged projects. Anything beyond that 20 to 30 minute period is probably not very productive. And also exclude arguing and debating. Oftentimes when they're engaged in that argue and debate back and forth, it's a way for them to not only get out of work, but also for them to find a reinforcing effect in negative conversations. Now that we've spent a little bit of time talking about where to provide instruction, when to provide it, and which things I should include and exclude, I'd like to take a couple of minutes talking about what to expect. Number 1 is you should expect them to understand the material being presented. If it's something that's really difficult for them and they're struggling with, then they should either A, ask for help from you, or they should have access to their teacher in order to say, I'm stuck on this particular item or activity. They should be able to complete all the assigned work by their teacher, whether they're in kindergarten, 5th grade, or middle school or high school. The teacher should be assigning material that follows instruction. Also, you should expect respect and cooperation. They should be talking respectfully to their teacher, to fellow classmates if they're online, and to be cooperative. Finally, they should follow the routine schedule as written. You should also expect resistance. Almost always, we're going to experience resistance to expectations, regardless of how smart our child is. When we present new and novel material, oftentimes it's a little bit frustrating. It can be a little bit difficult to do. It can seem a little bit overwhelming, and the typical response of anyone is resistance. So you're going to look at them and you're going to meet them with gentle persuasion and reinforcement. And what I mean by that is you're going to say, come on, I know you can do this. Give it a try. Here, I'll help you with the first one. Go ahead, try the second one now. Perfect, now you're humming. And you provide that verbal reinforcement and also reminders of upcoming reinforcers. For example, don't forget, as soon as you're done with this math, you and I are going to bake those cookies, or your friends are waiting 12 o'clock or so. I think you guys are going to go do a bike ride. Hope you can make it. That's that gentle persuasion and reminders of upcoming reinforcers. Finally comes part 5, and that's the question of who. Who should be involved in the instruction and education of my child during the Corona era? First off is your child. They should be actively involved in the learning process based on the information being provided by the teacher. Number 2 is your teacher should be involved. They should be providing some sort of instruction and support, whether it be online, whether it be through emails, or through some kind of video model. Number 3 are the parents. You folks are supporting this process, and we thank you so much, but you're providing reinforcement and lots of coaching and cheering along as they learn and get through this is exceptionally important. And finally, our counselors. If you need advice or support from counselors, that's fine too. Contact people in the school as often as needed. Don't think twice. Don't think about emailing every day or asking another question or contacting another person. That's what we're here for. That's what we plan on being here for until this is over. This is a very difficult period for you as parents and providers, for teachers, but especially for children. And what we want to happen is for them to want to learn, to want to sit down, and cooperate. And so the best way to do that is for us as providers is to truly expect them to be cooperative, to follow the directions, to follow the visual schedules, to put the items aside that shouldn't belong there, like their iPhones, and to deliver lots of reinforcement for any kind of compliance and cooperation. Our objective is to make this as helpful as possible, less stress. One of the easiest things to do, especially in this stressful period, is to become an aversive to our child's education. And what I mean by that is as we approach them and try to support them, they say, oh boy, this is not a good thing. I don't find this reinforcing at all. And so what I'm going to advise parents and support folks to do is to become the treasure chest. When they see you walk into the room, they say, aha, there's my ticket to reinforcement. They open you up and they see a cash cow. So some ideas for you to consider is to have visuals up of fun things that they get to do if they're cooperative and collaborative with you. For example, over on the right-hand side of the page, you'll see one batch of homemade cookies. Stay up past my bedtime. Movie night tonight. 1 hour alone with mom and dad. In other words, no siblings to rival with. No chores for 1 full day. And they get to select any one of those if they've had an exceptionally cooperative day. Reinforce the daylights out of them. In 3 pages, you'll find websites that you could copy and put on your web browser, and we'll give you information that enhances some of the recommendations that we made above about the 5 W's. Take a look at those when you have a chance, and it helps you to set up your home environment in order to be the most conducive to adaptive learning and to providing lots of reinforcement for your child to feel inclined, to participate, cooperate, and to excel. Best wishes to all, and we're looking forward to seeing you as soon as we can. Thank you.